baby! That damage is amazing. The Pestilence thing really smacks. Just so much damage and so much destruction. I feel alive just watching this. I can't look away. How about you give it up for my favorite Division 2 YouTuber, Mutant Cowboy? Hit the subscribe button because it will be the greatest thing you ever do. 9 out of 10 Mortys agree.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another Division 2 build video. Actually, what I should kind of say is this isn't really a build video. This is more of a theory crafting video. Now, as you might know, if you've been watching the channel, I've been messing around with ongoing directive. My last video was basically talking about how ongoing directive is currently buffing the drone and the turret when you have the hollow point bullets on. So you can end up actually getting more damage out of a glass cannon build than you could with normal high-end skill like item pieces, you know, giving you like skill damage and stuff like that, like Empress International or Wyvern Wares, you know, something like that. So the hollow point bullets are giving you a lot more boosted damage than you would normally get. So I kind of started playing around with the ongoing directive a little bit, and I wanted to see, you know, maybe if I put on the Pestilence and, you know, test out some things, maybe the hollow point bullets are going to give me some sort of huge surge or something like that. You know, I just wanted to see, wanted to mess around with it a little bit. So, you know, I put on the Catharsis mask, you know, I put on the vial mask, I put on those knee pads, you know. I was just kind of testing out things and just playing around with it because I just wanted to see. Well, the end result was no, I wasn't really getting any, you know, good, solid results from it. And it doesn't mean I'm done testing stuff with ongoing directive, but it kind of put me in the direction of, well, you know, if that's really not going to work for Pestilence, you know, maybe as like a little distraction for myself, let's see what the Pestilence can actually do. Because, you know, I don't really play around with the Pestilence that much. It's an alright weapon, but I personally don't use it that often. Now, I know the mechanics generally behind it. Obviously, you know, weapon damage is going to boost your Pestilence stacks the most, and so the more weapon damage you can put on a build, the better. And of course, you know, there's certain talents that, again, will work with it. Some, not all of them actually do, but most of them do boost the Pestilence stacks. So of course, you know, if you run, you know, kind of the best in slot pieces, you're going to get huge results and huge damage numbers from your Pestilence. Now, I guess the question really becomes, what are the best in slot pieces for the Pestilence? Well, at least as far as this patch goes, I was hoping that the Ninjabike might offer some new variety. That was something else I tested a little bit, but unfortunately, it's not really going to add that much. I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind that, oh man, I could get like the tip of the spear, 10% weapon damage, and put that on the build, but of course I think that's the third slot, so I would need 2 pieces, and so that didn't quite work out. But what I did end up doing was going with the Heartbreaker set. You know, putting on those 2 pieces gives you the LMG damage. I put on the Providence named piece, the named chest piece for that perfect glass cannon. Obviously, that gives you the 30% amplified damage. And of course, if you put on Walker and Harris, you get 5% weapon damage. But with the talent Vigilance, you get that 25% total weapon damage. Then, of course, it's just, you know, pretty easy. You got the Contractor's gloves that give you the LMG damage. And, of course, they also give you the damage to armor. And then, of course, you wrap it up with the exotic Sawyer's knee pads, which, when you don't move for basically 10 seconds, you get that 30% total weapon damage stack. Again, you know, you got all these stacks and all this weapon damage. You're going to be doing pretty much the highest damage of a Pestilence that I think possible. But my chest is like 14.9 and my gloves are 13.9. So I am missing out on 1.2% total weapon damage there. And my Pestilence is at 0 expertise. I haven't spent really any money on anything or, you know, any resources to upgrade pretty much any gear at all. So based on my calculations, what I'm looking at is that I'm missing, I think the max, actually I don't even know what the max expertise is. Is it like 21, 22, 23? I think it's somewhere around 21 or 22. So if that's correct, if it's 21 or 22, then I'm roughly missing like 22.2 or 23.2 weapon damage from the build. But as of right now, I think the highest damage that I've seen on my Pestilence, which would be an damage to armor tick, is hitting for about 1,474,000. However, what I did was I ended up trying to test seeing how much damage that would actually give me if I got that, like 20% extra weapon damage from the expertise and, maxed out the rolls on my gear. Now, to kind of simulate that, what I ended up doing was I just took off my Walker and Harris backpack. So that would basically remove 20% weapon damage. I just put just some random armor piece on there with vigilance. So it'd give me basically the same exact thing without 20% weapon damage. Now, when I ended up doing that, of course, obviously I got a lot weaker results. But the results were roughly somewhere around 1,353,000. Now, that's roughly a difference of about 121,000 damage. So if I added the Pestilence expertise, what I'm thinking is that I'm roughly going to get 121,000 extra damage on the Pestilence. And this would put me somewhere in the realm of 1,595,000 damage on a Pestilence stack. But then if I factored in the fact that I'm still missing like 1.2% damage on my actual chest and gloves, which I believe, basically equates to somewhere a little over 6,000 damage, I'm thinking that I'm going to be able to get roughly 1,600,000 damage on a Pestilence stack, just solo. And I think if I max out the expertise again, if it's 21% or 22%, again, I don't quite remember, but then I'd probably get somewhere in the realm of 1,614,000, somewhere in that realm. Either way, I could end up getting over 1.6 million damage per tick on a Pestilence. And, that's not a bad number. Now, of course, if I was playing in a team and, I was getting like the future initiative buff, if I was getting that, that chest talent that gives, your allies damage whenever you're in cover. But anyway, yeah, obviously, if I was in a team, I could get huge damage stacks. And, if I had everyone perfectly complementing my build, yeah, I could get huge numbers. But I'm just trying to figure out if 1.6 million is roughly the max damage that you're going to get on a solo Pestilence build. That seems to be about my math for it. Obviously, like I said, you can get a couple thousand, maybe like up to 15,000 extra, depending on your expertise. But yeah, that seems to be my math. So if anyone out there has that knowledge, that'd be great. Leave something in the comment section. But, whether or not you can actually use a Pestilence build like this, that's entirely up to you. I find it to be personally a little bit too squishy, but I do kind of like it because it really reminds me of a turret and drone build. And that's kind of the main reason why I actually like the Pestilence. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? But look at it this way. So you've got a Pestilence, you shoot an enemy 50 times, and then damage happens, right? Like, that's kind of like the main thing about using the Pestilence. You're basically relying on these stacks to kind of just float from enemy to enemy and dropping them, right? Well, how do you use a turret and drone build? Well, most people nowadays are using a capacitor. You're shooting an enemy 40 times, building those stacks, and then you're letting your turret and drone do huge amounts of damage to the enemies for you. So in a way, the Pestilence build is basically just the DPS version of the turret and drone. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that, oh, well, I'm not a skill build. I'm not just sitting there and cover. Yeah, well, guess what? Neither, skill builds don't have to just sit there and cover. They can still shoot too. It's just the same concept, just you're relying on a large chunk of your damage to come from something that isn't you directly shooting an enemy, whether it's turret and drone or Pestilence damage stacks. So it's kind of a very similar idea there. And so anyway, regardless of how you feel about it, I still like it. But overall, I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I really like it that much, because you do still have to fire quite a substantial number of bullets at an enemy to keep these stacks up. And again, with glass cannon, you really can't, poke your head out with a slow firing LMG for that long to deal with it. Of course, that's kind of why I was using the decoy skill, just to kind of take some of the pressure off me so I could, spam bullets at enemies. But overall, like I was saying, it really does feel like a turret drone build, and kind of, that same very similar playstyle, just a little bit more risky because of the fact that you have a slow firing weapon and you have to constantly, kind of keep these these stacks on a specific enemy. Otherwise, you know, you're gonna lose that huge damage amount if, you know, they're, you know, a very tanky enemy like a heavy or something, or like a warhound. Yeah, you might lose these stacks because they just don't die fast enough. So yeah, I mean, it's got its own, you know, quirks, and, you know, there's pros and cons to using a pestilence or using a turret and drone build. Of course, I do kind of wonder now, maybe the best way to build a pestilence build would be having a full DPS, you know, full like weapon damage build, but then instead of having like crit chance or crit damage on it, you just roll like skill damage on all the slots, and that way you're getting a large chunk of damage on your turret and drone. You know, if you run it with the tactician specialization, you get that extra skill tier. I mean, if you think about it, you know, and you consider the pestilence kind of like a minion in itself, you know, that could be a 3-tier minion build that's really pushing out some extreme heat. That would be kind of funny and cool. But of course, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do that, or if I really feel like grinding out those pieces to do it. But maybe I will. Anyway, that'll do it for this video, guys. You know, let me know in the comments what kind of pestilence damage stacks you're getting. You know, what kind of pestilence builds that you're using, and, you know, what you actually find fun with the pestilence. But anyway, that'll do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you learned something from it, and I'll see you in the next one.